TSTV, Troy Schools, bringing your school district into your home.
At this time, thank you, Jam and Jays, that was great. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce Prashana Venadam to speak and then lead us in our Unity Walk. Prashana is the founding president of the South Asian American Voices for Impact, a nonprofit, nonpartisan community organization that provides advocacy, education, and outreach services for South Asian Americans in Metro Detroit. She also serves on the board of Michigan United, a grassroots coalition of organizations to bring justice to housing, healthcare, immigration, and jobs. She serves on the board of trustees of New Detroit, the coalition, a nonprofit organization that advocates for racial justice. She's also a member of the Troy School District's Diversity and Inclusion Council. Prashana was past president of the American Citizens for Justice, a board member and advisory board member of the Council of Asian Pacific Americans, and the past vice president of Asian Pacific Islander American Vote Michigan. She is a faculty member at Oakland Community College for over 12 years and has taught undergrad courses at Wayne State University. And prior to that, she worked in strategic communications at several corporations in Detroit and on the East Coast. Prashana holds a master's degree in communications from Northeastern University in Boston, MA, and a master's in British literature. Prashana.
Thank you, Dr. Fowler, for this great opportunity. I'm really happy to be standing here today and participating in this wonderful event. I thank the school district, the Troy School District, for commemorating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday in such a way. And I also want to thank the Troy School District's Diversity and Inclusion Council for all the efforts they do in the spirit of diversity. I'm also honored here today to participate in an event that marks the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King. His achievements are historic, they're well known. What he's accomplished for this country, actually what he's accomplished goes beyond just benefiting the United States. As an immigrant from India, I have benefited tremendously from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Had it not been for the passage of the 1965 Civil Rights Act, the National Immigration Bill that allows all people from all over the world would not have happened. So therefore, Dr. Martin Luther King's achievements are achievements that impacted the entire world. The second thing I also wanted to just share with you that has impacted me, that I have actually marveled at Dr. King, is his method and means for bringing about change. What he accomplished for the United States with a method of nonviolence, love, harmony, compassion. Those are ideals that are very important in social change. So I have deep respect for that process, for a person who stood for process is more important than results. So I have taken that away from Dr. King. He is more than universe level hero, And he has impacted me personally. And in this nonprofit work that we're doing, definitely models like Dr. King are our inspiration. We are here to serve the community and to bring about change. So in that capacity, I want to acknowledge that this is a great opportunity for me as the founding president of SABI to stand here before and speak on behalf of my community, the Asian Americans and the South Asian Americans who are a big part of this community. So I really want to thank everyone for this great opportunity. And I also wanted to congratulate all the students who took the time to participate in this fantastic event. I'm looking at the entries, I'm looking at the award winners. That's fantastic for the students to have taken part in this and keeping the memory of Dr. King alive. So welcome, and thank you so much for this opportunity again.
At this time, we're going to have our symbolic unity walk. And so what we do is we go out this side of the building, we walk around outside and come back in, and then we'll continue our program. So if you would, please join us in our walk. Well, let's hear it for the Troy Colts drumline. They're wonderful. Thank you very much, Troy Colts. It's a great way to get our hearts going this morning. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an individual who, in a relatively short period of time, accomplished extraordinary deeds. His words and actions touched an entire nation, causing us to look at a world and the condition of our fellow human beings through his eyes. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment, though, to introduce members of our Board of Education who are very, very hard workers and who we rely on in the school district every day. Nancy Philippart, President; Todd Milletti, Vice President; Carl Schmidt, Secretary; Ida Edmonds, Trustee; Paula Fleming, Trustee; Gary Hoff, Trustee; and Wendy Underwood, Trustee. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Brian Krishnick, Troy City Manager.
Thank you, Barbara. And now, as we continue our celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, I'd like to recognize the 31 years of service of Dr. Fowler to the Troy School District, with the last 9 being as superintendent. Dr. Fowler, thank you for your contributions. It is certainly my pleasure to share the stage with you today in the celebration of this special day. But before we enjoy the performances and recognize the winners, let us come together as a community to reflect on the importance of this day. Let us all remember the words of Dr. Martin Luther King when he said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." So with that, I'd like to introduce some people who stand in times of challenge and controversy, not to mention peacefulness. Congressman Ventivilio is here today. Congressman, thank you for joining us. The Mayor of Troy, Dane Slater. Mayor Slater. Councilmember Ellen Hoderick, welcome. Mayor Pro Tem Dave Henderson, Councilmember Jim Campbell, Councilmember Wade Fleming, Councilmember Ed Pennington, and Councilmember Doug Teets, also members of the Troy City Council. We are starting this morning with a focus on the students of our community, the lifeline of our community, and the future of the Troy community. It's now my pleasure to recognize the student essay winners. As part of today's presentation, the Troy Martin Luther King Committee sponsored an essay contest for high school and middle school students. Students were asked to write a short essay based on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." How has your education shaped both your intellect and your character? More than 400 entries were received at the middle school alone. As I call your name, please come up on stage. Honorable mention for Madeline Crum, an 8th grader at Larson Middle School. Madeline?
My outstanding education. My education today has been shaped by 2 big parts of my life, my intellect and character. Since I started school, I've become more knowledgeable about daily things such as health, technology, problem solving, and many other school topics. My intellect has been transformed through my education. I discovered over the past 10 years that I love school and learning. I strive to work hard in everything in school, including homework, projects, and studying for tests. My teachers have helped me understand that school is a very important thing. Education has influenced my character and made me a leader in many ways. I've learned to stand up for what I believe in. I've learned to make good choices to stay out of trouble. Lastly, I've become a good problem solver that will help with future life situations. Thank you.
Very good. The 3rd place winner as Aditya Sanye, an 8th grader at Smith Middle School. Aditya?
Good morning. I'm Aditya Sanjay. I'm glad to share my essay with you. The title of my essay is An Opportunity. Education, only 9 letters, yet so powerful. To quote W.B. Yeats, education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. He demonstrates the vital need for humans to continually rekindle this fire through the aspects of character and intellect. My personal experience with education has provided me with the knowledge of basic sciences, arts, civics, and language, among others. Provided by both my parents and mentors, this training has significantly reinforced my personality, self-confidence, and thinking skills in order to shape me into a more rounded person. This molding has provided a boundless opportunity for me to interact with society at ease and reach my full potential. Education, at the end, will provide me with a wellspring of wisdom and knowledge. This transforms into a device that will allow me and other students of my generation to change the world. Thank you.
Excellent. The second place winner of the essay contest is Katie Jean, a 6th grader at Bolin Middle School, who could not be with us today, but her essay will be read by Zareth Ghazi. Zareth, thank you for filling in.
Education is not only what you know, but who you choose to be. Sometimes it's hard to choose the right path to take, but if you have a dream, then it is easier to follow the right path. Life's experiences have taught me things that will show me who I am and who I can become if I work hard. My education, not only in school, but in life in general, opens up doors for me that lead to my future. My character, curiosity, ambition, and a yearning for happiness let me become the person that I want to be. If you educate yourself, then the possibilities for your future are endless. Education is really how you use what you know and who you are to shape your future. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." Thank you.
Thank you again, Sarith, for filling in. Our first place winner is Maddie Young, a 7th grader at Baker Middle School. Maddie?
My education has shaped my intellect and my character, making me who I am today as it continues to change me. My education has made me both confident and creative. In school, I must use my prior knowledge to express my ideas in new and unique ways. I have learned to communicate my thoughts and feelings kindly and clearly. My education has also taught me how to work well with others and how to respect their ideas and feelings. This has helped me be more caring towards others and has helped me act more kind to people. The education I have has helped me become an open-minded, organized, compassionate, determined, and enthusiastic learner. I have learned to think critically in complicated situations and have progressed in my ability to take risks and use my knowledge and apply it to my life. My education shapes my character and helps me advance academically.
Thank you, Maddie, Katie, Aditya, and Madeline. What a wealth of talent we have in the Troy School District. And quite frankly, I am so glad that my kids go to in the Troy School District, which I'll just give a shout out for Schroeder Elementary and Bolden Park Middle School, the best middle school in the Troy School District. We're very proud of all the students who participated, and the judges said it's very difficult to choose the winners because of the tremendous essays, as I'm sure you could see. We'd now like to introduce you to our Troy High School winners. So, in 3rd place, we have Rita Farouk, a 9th grader at the International Academy. Rita was a winner last year from the middle school, so she repeats as a winner. Rita, come on up.
Dr. Martin Luther King valued education and encouraged all to pursue it. Education teaches us countless lessons, including the ability to communicate, overcome life's hurdles, and continue to run even if you don't make it over. Across the world, education plays a significant role in sharpening intellect, honing faculties, and developing character. Dr. King believed education helps us evolve into better individuals. It instills numerous skills that can help change the world. Education connects textbook knowledge to everyday situations. However, what good would all this be if education did not emphasize character? If my parents and educators had not taught me to treat all people fairly, regardless of race, ethnicity, and religion, I would be a very different person. Education should implant cherished values in every student. In the end, Dr. King would be proud if we all pursue education with an intent to leave a better world for the posterity. Thank you.
In second place, we have Curtis Sue, an 11th grader right here at Athens High School. He also won last year. The judges do not see the names of the students when they are choosing the winners, though. So come on up, Curtis.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was a man not known solely for his intellect. He was more than just an accomplished scholar. King became the revered man we know today because of his character. His leadership and open-mindedness are what made him great. In school, we are presented with the very opportunities to hone these very skills. Through casual interaction between peers and teachers, we learn to respect others. Through class discussions, we learn to understand more than ourselves. The school system teaches us how to work with others and recognize perspectives other than our own. It opens us to a world outside of our own. So not only does our school allow us to enhance our intellect in class, but our character outside of class. Dr. King believed in a world where each person will understand the views of his peers, and school gives us that very opportunity. Thank you so much.
Our first place winner is Ellen Zhang, who is an 11th grader at Troy High. Ellen?
Dr. King, the revolutionary leader, reached into people's hearts and minds to reveal the truth. Education is the foundation of intelligence and character, the most important qualities a person can possess. These simple, heartfelt words play out daily in the lives of many Americans, including me. My education has taught me to utilize my knowledge by thinking intelligently and pursuing everything with determination. Each discovery has compelled me to invest greater time and effort to think, solve, and do. My education does not only consist of formulas, equations, and laws, but I also gained the power to spread my knowledge. I do so by tutoring my peers and teaching younger students. Not only am I teaching others, but I am also learning how to improve my character by bettering my relationships. Following Dr. King's spirit, I realize with clarity that learning into intelligence as teaching is the character. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen, Curtis, and Rita, and all the students who entered the essay contest. Want to have a picture? Yeah, come on down. Thank you again, and congratulations. I'd now like to ask Dr. Fowler to come up and introduce the video contest winners.
Again this year, the committee offered a video contest for our students. We'll bring the winners on stage and then watch the winning videos. Special thanks to Pat Conoval, Smith Middle School, Jeff Williams, Boland Park Middle School for assisting with the video projects. From the middle school entries, Honorable mention goes to a team of 7th graders, Jacob Green, and 8th graders, Lance Kassab and Matt Vernier from Smith Middle School.
Do you know who Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is? He is a leader that once said, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education." Education has shaped me as a whole. It has shaped my understanding of the world around. It has shaped my personality and character. Now that we go to school, we understand that our education is not just to have good grades, but to develop a good character and think strongly about life ahead. School has changed me from being a shy and quiet kid to being a very outgoing and happy person. All in all, education has made my inner character.
Would the students come up on the stage, please? Jacob Green, Lance Kassab, and Matt Vernier. They're going to stay down there? Oh, okay. Great job. Third place, we have a team of 8th grader, Josh Atala, and 7th grader, Matt Potesta, and from Smith Middle School.
Martin Luther King once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education."
Martin Luther King also said, "Forgiveness is not an occasional act, it is a constant attitude." I'm sorry, dude.
Martin Luther King has taught me to be an intelligent role model.
Martin Luther King has taught me to be a kind, forgiving person.
Martin Luther King has taught me to be an influential person.
He has shown me that caring for people does matter.
Great job, Josh and Matt. In second place, we have Richard Lee. We have Richard Lee's video. Richard here? Come on up. That was great. In first place, we have the team of Alexa Kosovos, Rebecca Prater, and Sandy Quinn, all 8th graders from Smith Middle School.
The moment we needed the most. tell me your passion's gone away, and I don't need no care, no. Stand in the line just to hit a new low. You're faking the smile with the coffee.
An outstanding job by all of our middle school video winners. For the high school, our second place winner is Aravith Ravitas, a junior from the International Academy. Aravith, is you here? Okay, we're just going to play the video.
Over the years, my education has not only shaped my intellect, but also my character. When people refer to education, it is usually only intellect that comes to mind. Many people do not realize how vital character is when it comes to education. In order for one to fully appreciate the value of education, he or she must have character. Academic malpractice can taint the value of one's education. By cheating, you're not cheating anyone other than yourself. In the end, you might get a good grade on that particular assignment, but did you really understand what you cheated on? Throughout my education, I learned how important it is to understand something and not cheat your way through it. Think of it this way. You may be able to cheat your way through medical school, but there's no way you can cheat through a surgery you're required to perform.
For the high school first place winner is Amin Sinapat, a ninth grader from Troy High School.
Education shapes my intellect by bringing me new challenges, forcing me to think extensively. Education shapes my character by making me a better person, teaching me to be the best I can to those around me and to myself. We should all strive to have education fulfill its true role in our lives. Here are a few simple steps to make sure that it does. 1. Be open-minded and willing to accept new knowledge. 2. Be persistent and don't give up when faced with a dilemma. And lastly, treat others the way you want to be treated, because that really helps build your character. Let's all do our part to spread the message of this great American leader.
Thank you, that was great. Okay, next we will hear from the students at Athens and Troy High who are involved in the school's diversity clubs to learn what they are doing to carry on the work of Dr. King. From the Diversity Club at Athens High School, we have Melissa Gassa, Nevin George, and Drew Goman.
Today we commemorate the successes and contributions that Martin Luther King Jr. made to improve the way we interact with others in society. He promoted peace and fair treatment between different races and taught us all equality. We as Athens Diversity Club do our best to carry on his legacy by promoting acceptance of all individuals in our school and in our community. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Students have a responsibility to participate in the movement." As students, we try to fulfill his dream, and we look to members of our diversity club to assist us. At our meetings, we discuss various topics that we consider prevalent issues in society. Perhaps the most frequent matter we find ourselves bringing up time after time is discrimination, because all conflicts arise from different forms of discrimination. Since our thoughts all differ from one another, these conversations upon open us up to new perspectives that we hadn't considered before. We provide an atmosphere where everyone is welcome and everybody can share their opinions freely. Each meeting, we ask a few of the members to contribute a dish that represents their background, allowing us to appreciate our differences. Each spring, Diversity Club hosts an ethnic fair here at Athens. Our ethnic fair is an extravaganza where we ask students within our school to represent their culture for everyone to see. Groups with similar origins can either set up a table or share their common foods. They can wear the clothes that their people wear, or they can perform a dance that showcases their culture. We broadcast this event and other activities we do in our club to the Michigan Roundtable Regional Youth Consortiums.
We attend summits held by the Michigan Roundtable, where other schools from Southeast Michigan come together to better understand social justice issues that are relevant to our communities. We congregate to share our perspectives with others and in return report their points of view back to our own community. We partake in acknowledging discrimination and the different stereotypes we encounter in our daily lives. As part of our learning experience, we are trying something new called the School Exchange Program. The idea being that we attend a different school for a day and shadow a student within the diversity program and have them reciprocate by visiting our school. This allows us to witness a day in the life of a student attending a different school, and from it, we can become agents of change in our own school by sharing with our peers the things we like that they do differently. All in all, Diversity Club has taught us to be less judgmental and more accepting of all cultures and points of view. We recognize that each one of us has a story, and that story explains why we are the way we are, and that we shouldn't jump to conclusions without hearing that story, because someone else could be jumping to conclusions about us just as easily. This club has given us the opportunity to learn more about where others come from and take a step in their shoes. We've been enlightened to accept everyone the way they are and recognize that we are no different from each other. We hope that we have satisfied Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream and that he would be proud of the change he and his followers have made and of our own work we have put in to avenge his legacy. In celebrating him, it is important that we remember what 12-year-old Kosi Johnson once said in his fight for equality amongst African Americans battling AIDS. We are all the same. We are not different from one another. We all belong to one family. We love and we laugh, we hurt and we cry, we live and we die. Thank you.
From the Troy Diversity Project at Troy High School, we have Dina Akamenchina and Toshan Patha.
Oh, it does.
Hello. Good morning, everyone. We're members from the Troy High School Troy Social Justice Project. My name is Roshan Patre. There's a misprint on the sheet, sorry. Here you go.
My name is Dina Akmachina. I'm a senior at Troy High School.
My name is Sophie Lin. I'm a junior at Troy High.
My name's Eric Chang. I'm a sophomore at Troy High School.
As Roshan already stated, we are executive members from Troy High School's Troy Social Justice Project. It is a great honor for us to be here with you today and join you all in celebration of this great man, his life, and his legacy. It's really exciting to see this event grow from year to year and to see how our project kind of grows in correlation with this event. This year, we have renamed our group from the Troy Diversity Project to the Troy Social Justice Project. And we've reached out to our district to spread our initiative and make it district-wide, and it has succeeded. We have teams of students and adult allies in every high school. So we work with Niles, IA, and Athens. And we also have adult allies in every middle school and high school as well. It's really exciting. This year, in general, has been really exciting for the Troy Social Justice Project.
A lot of new opportunities have opened up for the Social Justice Project at Troy. Not only are we a district-wide initiative now, but we're also able to join Michigan Roundtable, as Athens previously said. Michigan Roundtable has really opened my eyes into thinking about new perspectives and thinking about people who don't come from the same background as me. Michigan Roundtable has really let me meet new people, have a lot of fun, and gain new insight on diversity and religion and race. What's also really awesome this year is that we gonna have an exchange program between a DPS school and Troy High. We will be exchanging students at Osborne, and so I'm really excited about that.
Another event that we have at Troy High is our annual culture show, which is a huge event that we put off. It's a talent show, but it's with different diverse acts, such as, different cultures singing and different dancing. And we keep the price low so that we can attract as many people as possible to see the different kinds of cultures that we have. Before the actual event, we have what we call the Festival of Cultures, which is, there's different displays of cultures, and they give out food and information, and it's just a good way to get some food before the actual event. And it'd be great if you guys could come to that. It's April 2nd, and we would love to see you come to see the diversity that we practice within Troy schools.
And the culture show is actually a really big event that's been going on for a number of years now. But as part of becoming a district-wide organization, what we're really trying to do is expand out and not only just target the middle schools, but using all of the high schools in a combined effort where we're creating this new thing called a theater troupe. And you guys may be thinking, what does that mean? But the idea of the theater troupe is that we are going to write a series of short skits, and in May we are going to go to the middle schools and perform these skits. And these skits will mainly be dealing with controversial issues that might come up in like a situation, and really what they are is that they open doors for us to really hold forums for middle schoolers to talk about subjects that maybe they don't want to talk about, or maybe they want to talk about, but they don't know how to go about talking about it in the correct way. And I think a big thing about diversity is really establishing it at a young age, and at an age when kids are really developing their ideas about what they think about society. And so I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for us to go and tour the middle schools with these theater troupes and these programs and really talk to them and ask them questions and have them ask us questions. And it's going to be a really great experience. Once again, we're the Troy High School executive members from the Troy Social Justice Project, and it's such an honor to be here today. Thank you very much.
I would just like to take a minute to thank the students. The work you're doing at the high schools and that's going on then hopefully at the middle schools as well and across the district is so important. And you're absolutely right. The younger we start, the better we'll be when we get to be my age. So thank you very, very much for the initiatives and the things that you are doing. Throughout his short life, Martin Luther King Jr. was committed to public education. He believed, and you've heard it over and over today, that only through education would the civil rights movement truly reach its goal. Dr. King wrote that leaders of the movement must press, quote, for quality integrated education, for the whole drive for freedom will be undermined by the absence of the most vital and indispensable element, learning. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Kimberly Simons, creator of the program called Carolyn Corliss, A Family Legacy of Freedom, that was recognized by the National Park Service's National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom in 2005 as a national program of the network. She is also a national site partner as well, having given several networks to Freedom designation since 2008. Her ancestor, Caroline Corliss, is documented and honored historically as the first Underground Railroad escapee through the state of Wisconsin in 1842. And the program is a view of her journey over 3 months and 1,000 miles through 5 states and into Canada after crossing the river at Detroit. So at this time, I'd like to invite up Kimberly to speak. Kimberly?
Good morning. have my trusty clicker. And that wasn't a good morning. Good morning. I know it's early and there's a lot of ice. And I can use both mics? Okay. Before I start, I guess my first question, and I've got a bunch of students here. And I know this is the day off, but you got to put your thinking cap back on, just for 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes. Okay, because I'm going to ask a question. I always ask this question before I start speaking. And that question is, so I'm looking at the students, and we've had some wonderful essays and wonderful presentations. So my question to you is, what is freedom? Okay, so they all go blank. I'm going to ask again, because I'm going to point at a couple of the essay winners in front, because they've already answered wonderful questions. So I'm going to ask you, what is freedom? So you have it, or what you think it is. So that question is very probably not something you've ever thought about. So I'm going to ask it again, and then I'm going to start pointing. They said I missed my calling. I should have been a teacher. So you know, when you don't volunteer, what do? They point. So what is freedom? Okay, and I don't know your names, but I know I watch you won. You just won. So I know you got answers. Let's see. Unfortunately, you have a white shirt on. You're sitting in the front row, and no one else has a white shirt on. Yes, that would be you. And what is your name again? You just won. Drew. Okay, so give me an answer. Drew said living in an environment where you can choose where you want to live. Is that what you said? Choose the way that you want to live. Okay. Okay, that sounds like a good answer. Let's see. I'm going to pick another essay winner. They're all sitting up front, too. Okay. And how about that gentleman sitting next to you in the black shirt? White and black. There you are. And what's your name? Nevin. Nevin said, freedom is the ability to pursue happiness in whatever the individual wants to do. Okay? Okay. Well, we've got a couple of views. Maybe by the time we get done speaking, we will have a few more. I'm going to talk about my family today. And let there be no mistake about that. I am very, very proud of my family. I can switch mics. Excuse me, I'm a walker and a talker. This morning, the subject is actually Martin Luther King, but the subject is freedom. And I've asked two of our illustrious essay winners and video winners to answer that question. Freedom. What is freedom? Freedom comes in many ways. And the dream of freedom was at midnight. Now here's another question. I told you had to put your thinking caps back on. Midnight. Midnight. What does that mean? It's dark. Dark before the dawn, right? Well, that lovely lady that you see on the left is my great-great-great-grandmother. Her name was Carolyn Quarles. It became Carolyn Quarles Watkins after she married. And that lovely, reflective gentleman on the right is Martin Luther King Jr. And they both have a tie to this place called Midnight. Shall I tell you where Midnight is? Detroit. The dream of freedom was at Detroit. In Underground Railroad language, midnight meant Detroit. So in order to see the dawn, anybody have any idea what dawn would mean? We're still tired. Dawn would be the promised land, which would be Canada. So in order to see dawn, you had to get to midnight. Okay, I must be using the wrong button here. There, okay, that's backwards. Okay. So, Detroit is synonymous with freedom. Midnight, freedom, Detroit. Freedom comes in many forms, and it looks different ways. How many of you have seen this and know where it is? This is the International Underground Railroad Memorial Monument. It is in Hart Plaza in downtown Detroit. And it depicts a family who has made it to midnight. And they are looking for dawn. And they are being instructed where dawn is. That gentleman there is pointing to dawn. How many of you have seen that monument? No? Oh, we have to take a trip downtown. It's very special. Oh, see, there's one. It's very special. It's one of a kind. Actually, I should call that more two of a kind. It is on this side of the river called the Gateway to Freedom. And it has a twin on the Canadian side. Now, ladies, have you seen the Canadian side? Okay, it's called the Tower of Freedom. It is a one-of-a-kind monument because it rests in two countries that share a heritage, and that's freedom. Across a river known as Detroit. Okay. And here we have a document that we all live by. Do we know what that is? Those essay winners. It kind of gives away the clue. It says the unanimous declaration. Okay, so in Congress, July the 4th, 1776. Is it ringing bells here? This would be the Declaration of Independence. Signed on the 4th of July, 1776. And what did this do? It declared our freedom, or our intended freedom. And this lovely gentleman, his name is George Wythe. How many of you want to be an attorney or a lawyer? Do I see hands? None of these essay winners want to be attorneys as well as you speak? Because you know it's all about that, talking your way out of a circle. Well, George Wythe was considered, or is considered, the father of the law in the United States. He was the first law professor in the United States, and he had three special students. One was named John Marshall. Okay, raise your hand if you know who John Marshall is. Okay, well, we got two here. Okay. The other one was James Madison. Do you know who James Madison? Oh, there we go. Oh, they woke up. And the third one wrote that document we just saw. His name was Thomas Jefferson. And guess what? That is my 7th great uncle. Interesting. Remember, I'm going to ask you again, what's freedom? That gentleman signed the document. This document, I'm sure you will study or have studied, but this document was signed by delegations. So the delegation of Virginia, of which Mr. Wythe belonged, actually signed, see Mr. Hancock's signature there? John Hancock. The second delegation down, Mr. Wythe is front and center. And you will notice that Mr. Wythe signed up above the actual author of the document, Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Wythe was not in Philadelphia when this document was signed. He was back in Virginia. He had to take care of some business at home. So therefore, Mr. Wythe was not there the day they signed it. They left that great big space so that when he returned, he could sign it. Why? Because they honored their teacher so much. They chose to leave an empty space, and this is Thomas Jefferson who wrote the document, to leave a space so he could sign above them. That was their honor to him. Oh, boy. Samuel Clemens. Okay, have we read Samuel Clemens yet? Done a little reading of Samuel Clemens? What about Langston Hughes? Welcome to my family. Langston is my 7th cousin. He is a Quarles by birth. His grandfather was a Quarles, and you'll meet him in a second. And Samuel, how many of you said you've read Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn? You know, Tom is Sam, and Sam talks a lot about, in his books, his Uncle John and his Aunt Becky. Remember those? Those are the characters. That was Sam Mark's way of telling stories, was talking about his family. Well, his Uncle John was Uncle John Quarles, and he spent his summers in Hannibal, Missouri with his Quarles family. Interesting. And there's the Langstons. That's John Mercer Langston, and how many know who John Mercer is? And Charles. John Mercer Langston was the first African American congressman from the state of Virginia. And on the right, that scruffy looking guy, Charles Langston, was a member of the Oberlin Anti-Slavery Society and was responsible for the Wellington rescue of John Price. These two lovely gentlemen are also my cousins. And the gentleman on the right, Charles, is Langston Hughes' grandfather. And as the Wellington rescuers stand, Mr. Langston there on the right is standing in the middle of the portrait. Louis Sheridan Leary. Love the way he wears that hat. And yes, he too is my cousin. He also was cousin to John Mercer and Charles. And he was one of 5 men here with this man at Harper's Ferry. How many of you know about Harper's Ferry? Harper's Ferry was considered the beginning or the last event that led to the Civil War. Mr. Brown, Captain Brown, Louis Sheridan Leary was one of 5 African Americans that were at Harper's Ferry with John Brown. Interesting family already, eh? Carolyn Quarles Watkins was born in 1826. She was born from of a woman named Maria, who would have been my great-great-great-great-grandmother. They were owned by her grandfather, my great-great-great-great-grandfather. His name was Dr. Robert Quarles. He was a Revolutionary War veteran, had been in the Virginia militia, and by 1826, he had finished his war service, and he had been given a land grant. And that's what Revolutionary War soldiers actually were given. The United States wasn't printing that much money, so they didn't actually get a check like we get nowadays. They actually were given land. The original piece of land that the Quarles family was given was actually in where, you would call it Ohio State University sits now, in the Ohio Territory, and they couldn't stay there. They were Virginia planters moving across country and couldn't stay on the land they had been given. Does anybody have any idea why? Well, I'll tell you, the Ohio Territory was free, and they owned slaves. And in 1826, there was another one birthed, and this was she. She was an octoroon. Do you know what an octoroon would have meant then? She was 1/8 black. Her mother was Native American, French, and African descended. And Maria had been given to the young gentleman of the house, Robert Pryor Quarles, sort of as a wedding gift. There were 2 children born, 2 girls, and she was the youngest. She was known, as she gotten older, as the pretty one. As you see, this is a picture taken of her. It's the only one we have in existence. It was a picture taken of her when she was in her older age, and I say that with a little caveat because she was about as old as I am, so she wasn't really that old. But she was keen-featured. She had freckles and blue eyes and jet black hair that hung down her back. And as you see, she looked like a white woman. Because you know what? She pretty much was. But the rule of the day was 1 drop. So, until she was 16 years old, she actually was in the house with her young cousins and her half-brothers and sisters. By the time she was 16, her owner at birth, her grandfather, Dr. Robert Quarles, had deceased. He was deceased. And her ownership was passed down. Why? She was a piece of property. Like the cats and the dogs and the chickens. She had been passed down. And her ownership transferred to her paternal aunt. Her aunt's name was Louisa Ann Quarles. It became Louisa Ann Quarles Hall. And Mrs. Hall, and yes, ladies, in 1826, we couldn't own property either. So if we were given property in a settlement, our husbands took the property. So in 1827, when Carolyn's grandfather died, her ownership became that of her paternal uncle, Charles R. Hall, gentleman of St. Louis, Missouri. Now, we talked about another document earlier, but this is a document that's special too. Do you know what this document is? This is the 13th Amendment, signed in 1865. So this lovely lady that you see here And that lovely document we viewed earlier with Mr. White's signature on it, Mr. White would have been her third great uncle, who signed it. This lovely lady was enslaved, and that document that we all cherish did nothing for her. This one did in 1865. This one freed her. But guess what? It just freed you. Do you know what the 14th Amendment did? We got seniors. And this essay winner here, video winner, do you know what the 14th Amendment did? Yes, no, well, the 14th and the 15th, but the 14th signified, it actually gave you a citizenship. It made you a citizen. The 13th Amendment freed a people, but they were a people without a country. The 14th gives you your citizenship. So when you hear people argue about the 14th Amendment, you should be very upset. St. Louis, Missouri, 1826. Carolyn was born on the corner of 6th and Pine, which was about 2 or 3 blocks from where we now consider the Mississippi Arch. St. Louis was a bustling western territory, and the Quarles were a planter family from Virginia. They had a fine home, and she was born there. 2 or 3 blocks behind, though, was this building. This is the St. Louis, or they call it now, the Old Courthouse. It is a National Historic Landmark, and it looks like this today. And as you can see, there's the arch. This was literally 2 blocks from Carolyn's home. And you know what they did there? The slave market was on the steps. This is what Carolyn had to look forward to. This was her owner, her grandfather, Dr. Robert Quarles. This is his will. And in it lists a lady and a child, his granddaughter and her mother, listed as property. They were worth $500 at the time as a set. St. Louis would have looked like this. 4th of July, 1842. This is the waterfront. Does it look familiar? What does it look like? I always seem to think I see Detroit there. And the ferry boats. Ferry boats were the way of transportation. You lived on the river. The way you got up and down the river and around was by ferry boat. And in 1842, 16-year-old Carolyn Quarles decided that after spending most of her life as nursemaid and playmate and as the maidservant of her aunt, Louisa Ann, that on July the 4th, 1842, it was time for her to find her independence. She had been kept for 16 years as a servant to her own family. She looked like them, she walked like them, she talked like them. And you've already seen her cousins and an uncle. And they were special people. But she wasn't considered so special. So by July the 4th, 1842, she had had a conversation with her paternal grandmother. Let's think about that. Patsy Minor Quarles. Patsy Minor Quarles was still living in the house after her husband died, was still considered the matriarch. And when she saw Carolyn, she saw her granddaughter. The maternal instinct said, this is my granddaughter. And at 16 years old, blue-eyed, freckled, long hair, pretty, slight of build. Do you know what life she was looking forward to? She would have been what they called a fancy slave, and fancy slaves ended up in New Orleans as the property of the very rich in their homes. So at 16, that word, freedom, started meaning a lot of different things to her. So she talked about it with Patsy. And she asked Patsy, what should she do? So, and Patsy's answer to her was, it's time to leave. So they discussed it. And they decided that the best day for her to leave was on the 4th of July. Do you have any idea why that would be a good day? Especially in Carolyn's thoughts. Yes, sir. What would be a good day? It was a holiday, you're right. 4th of July, fireworks, but you know what's special about the 4th of July in the Quarles household? They were a Revolutionary War family. So if somebody in their household wanted to escape because they didn't like the way they were being treated, what better day to show but the 4th of July? You guys got your independence, and I'm still here. So I'm going to show you what it's like to find freedom. So on the 4th of July, 1842, 16-year-old Carolyn Quarles started a journey. And the journey started here on the riverfront in St. Louis. She was given by her grandmother for her journey a little bit of jewelry, barter, sell it on the way. She had been taught a trade. She learned how to make lace. And she was very valuable. She was lent out. She made lace for the lovely ladies' outfits, made lace handkerchiefs. So she had acquired a little bit of money. You were allowed to do that, to make a little bit of money, either for yourself or for your owner. So on the 4th of July, 1842, 16-year-old Carolyn Quarles had about $100 and some clothing that she had taken out of the house. She hid it in a cherry bush and then asked permission to go see a friend who was sick that lived on another plantation. And she got permission. Why not? She did it before. She left. She kissed her friend goodbye and she said, I'm leaving. And her friend said, yeah, right. Sure. Why? Nope, I'm leaving. Because there's something I need to find, and that's freedom. Because I don't seem to see it here. So she goes back to the house and she tells her grandmother in secret, I'm leaving. Her grandmother said, nothing I can do to stop you. And at that point, we believe that she would have been pressed and told her she had to. Carolyn at that point was owned by her paternal uncle, and there was no blood relation. So the opportunity were great. So when everyone else was celebrating their freedom, Carolyn literally walked to the riverfront, remember how close it was, and got on one of these lovely ferries, bought a ticket. When she walked up, the ferry boat captain looked at her and went, okay. He didn't deny her passage. He allowed her to buy a ticket and get on. And she proceeded to envelop herself in a convent. There was a convent school right across the way. Right across the way from St. Louis is a place called Alton, Illinois. That's the other side of the Mississippi River. And there was a convent school there with kids, young ladies, who would always travel on the ferry boat back and forth between St. Louis and Alton. So she just meandered into the group, and off they went across the river to Alton, Illinois. On July the 4th, 1842, Carolyn had arrived in Illinois. Illinois was a free state, so the 16-year-old was now free, technically. But Alton, very well known as a place where the bounty hunters came. And there was a whole lot of abolitionists too. Do you know what an abolitionist is? What's an abolitionist? Absolutely. An anti-slavery believer. So Alton, Illinois was a big anti-slavery holdout. Carolyn arrived on the docks, got off and looked around, and was approached by a gentleman on the docks, young fella, probably about your age. And he looked at her and he said, don't stay here. This isn't safe. If you're escaping, don't stay. So he took her to the stagecoach station. We'd call it right now the Greyhound. Leave the driving to us. Leave the buggy to us. Stagecoach. And he thought, where is the farthest place I can send her safely? And that was Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Milwaukee. It was about a 10-day stagecoach ride. So stagecoach, 16, never been away from St. Louis, Missouri, free, traveling across country. When she arrived in Milwaukee, she arrived at a place called the Milwaukee House Hotel. It would have been similar to this. The inn had a barber shop inside that was run by a gentleman by the name of Titball. And when the stagecoach pulled in, Mr. Titball was waiting. Gentleman got off, shaved, haircut, been riding a long time. And here's this lovely lady gets off the stage, and he looks and he says, doesn't look like she belongs. So he approached her and said, excuse me, ma'am, if you're escaping, don't stay here. Come with me. So Carolyn actually became the maid of Robert Titball and lived in his back store that was in the Milwaukee House Hotel for the next couple weeks. That was time enough for the Quarles family and Charles R. Hall to decide they needed to go get their property back. Carolyn was quite valuable. At the time, she then had a $300 bounty on her. Do you have any idea how much $300 is now? It's about $9,000 in 2014 money. And the gentleman that was leading the show, trying to get her back, was a man by the name of Arnold Spencer, who was the Charles R. Hall and Quarles family's lawyer. He'd seen her. He knew exactly what she looked like. And accompanying him was the ferryboat captain. That ferryboat captain had allowed property to get onto his ship and get away. And the ferry boat company was responsible now. So they were having to pay $800 for her to the Quarles family. Now I already told you $300 was worth $9, so let's $9,000. That's a lot of money. She was an expensive piece of property. And they wanted her back. So, the great city of Milwaukee had never seen an enslaved person before, running. Carolyn's escape was the first documented Underground Railroad escape through the state of Wisconsin, and she spent about 2.5 weeks in Milwaukee General. When the bounty hunters arrived, they approached everyone in town, including the man on the left. The man on the left is named Asa Finch, an attorney, anti-slavery abolitionist, and a believer that everyone should be free. He and his partner on the right, William Pitt Lind, formed a partnership because of this escape. The partnership started off as Finch and Lind, and guess what? 2014. They still have that F&L letters for their partnership, and it is now called, how many attorneys in the room? Any attorneys here? You know, and attorneys are here and they don't want to raise their hands, so. I've been down that road before. Foley and Lardner. Foley and Lardner is one of the largest law firms in the country. And in Foley and Lardner's autobiography of the firm, they list Carolyn's story as the beginning of their partnership. You can go to the library and pull her story. Asa Finch was approached by Arnold Spencer looking for a runaway. And Mr. Finch said, never seen her, don't know who you're talking about. Now mind you, she'd been everywhere. They'd seen her. She was the first one they'd ever seen, and she was pretty. So later on in the evening, wonderful Mr. Finch was actually approached by the apprentice from Mr. Titball, the barber, and the apprentice proceeded to tell him Mr. Titball is going to give her away. Why? Because they're going to give him $100. Now, if 300 was 9, figure that was about $3,000 or $4,000. That was worth giving her away, or so he felt. Remember, Mr. Titball was an emancipated freedom seeker as well. So Asa Finch told that apprentice, go and get her. We need to hide her where? In plain sight, where they can't find her. So for the next 12 hours, until it was dark, Carolyn spent time in a sugar barrel, like this, and quiet. And as the saying goes, being hidden in plain sight. They walked all around that sugar barrel all day, but they were hidden in plain sight. And at the end of the evening, they retrieved her. I should say Mr. Finch retrieved her and took her to the outskirts of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the north side, to this man, Deacon Samuel Brown. Deacon Brown was one of the 5 founders of the city of Milwaukee. He had come in 1835 with 5 gentlemen and got their property and set up shop. And Mr. Brown, actually, the reason they honored him by calling him deacon, he was the founder of the Congregational Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He also held the first Sunday school class in Milwaukee in his house, in his home. Carolyn was taken to Samuel Brown's home, hidden away in the farmhouse overnight. And the National Park Service has honored the site in what is now called Johnson Park as a National Historic Site for the Network to Freedom. Later on that evening, Samuel Brown said, well, I can't keep her. I'm going to have to find someone to take her to. So Lyman Goodenow was installed. Lyman Goodenow was 30 and single and no children, and it was decided that Mr. Goodenow would take Carolyn to that place called Freedom. Carolyn's journey would have taken her out of Milwaukee, back across Illinois, south side of Chicago. Couldn't go through Chicago. Why? Because Chicago, people were looking for her. So the route to midnight, remember what midnight is? The route to midnight was around the lake. The last place they stopped in Illinois was at the Dundee Inn, which was a stagecoach station. And it was owned by this man, Alan Pinkerton. Does that ring a bell? Oh, see, they are awake now. Alan Pinkerton was who? Hey, he was a private eye and a detective, and he also was Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard. He was an abolitionist. So it was important. His job was important. Why? Because it gave him the opportunity to know where the slave movement was. Through the state of Illinois, Indiana, crossing over around the lake and into Michigan, the southwest side of the state, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, how many people been there? Marshall, Albion. All right. And finally made it to this good place known as Ann Arbor. How many are going to A squared for school? All right. The outskirts of town, as a matter of fact, we now know it as 1425 Pontiac Trail Road, was the home of a gentleman by the name of Guy Beckley. The home looks like this now. Yes, it's still standing. Guy Beckley was the publisher and editor of a paper called The Signal of Liberty. It was published from 1841 until 1848, and he was an abolitionist. It was published, that's a picture of it, that's downtown Ann Arbor, and he and his brother published The Signal of Liberty. He hid Carolyn at his house overnight, she and Lyman Goodenow. Until they could get to where? Midnight. Detroit. Ferries and rowboats. And as this lovely depiction says, by Mr. Siebert, Wilbert Siebert, thousands crossed here. Thousands. Do you have any idea what the approximation is for people getting to midnight? Midnight to dawn. They estimate about 50,000 freedom seekers sought their freedom across our river. Let there be no mistake. Freedom is at midnight. And this lovely gentleman, William Lambert. Anybody heard of Mr. Lambert before? Mr. Lambert actually lived in Detroit. He was the co-founder of the Detroit Vigilance Society, and he actually was also the founder of what was called the Order of the African Mysteries. He was a tailor by trade, and his home on the corner of St. Alban and Larned in downtown Detroit is a Michigan Historic Site. And for $12, Mr. Lambert rode Carolyn and Lyman Goodenow across the river as they arrived in Detroit. The other co-founder of the Order of the African Mysteries and the Detroit Vigilance Society was this gentleman by the name of George de Baptiste. How many of you have heard his name? Mr. de Baptiste was the valet of William Henry Harrison. And that statue that we talked about, that monument, him pointing, that is Mr. de Baptiste. Midnight. That's Detroit in 1842. Looked just like where she left, didn't it? Home. This is Windsor, 1851, and that home is still standing. Peter and Watkins Street, home. Freedom. Next door to the family church. Sandwich Baptist Church, the oldest African Canadian church in Canada. Built by 13 former freedom seekers, including Alan Watkins, Carolyn's soon-to-be husband. Formed out of the Detroit River water and the clay. Letters of Freedom. In 1881, Carolyn was surprised when she received a letter from a gentleman in Milwaukee that had helped her. Lyman Goodnow. Those letters arrived, and there were 3 that were replied. Mr. Goodnow actually sent a letter, general delivery, to this person that he had dropped off so long ago, just to ask how she was doing. 10 years ago, the letters were found in an attic in Kenosha, Wisconsin. They are in perfect condition, and they tell the tale of Carolyn's journey and the journey she took with Mr. Goodnow. They now reside in the Kenosha Civil War Museum. They're the prize of the collection, and her great-great-great-granddaughter has had the opportunity to view them, as you can see. There's nothing like holding your history in your hand. Carolyn's story's been told many ways. By play. This is A Midnight Cry. It was just revived in Milwaukee. And that would be her great-great-great-granddaughter with the cast. Tells the story of Carolyn's travels across country and the people that she met and the journey that she took. It was debuted in 2003, and the revival actually happened last weekend. The play is toured nationally and regionally and is seen off Broadway. And the Milwaukee Underground Railroad murals. If you ever have a chance to go to Milwaukee, Carolyn's story is on the walls at the Marquette Interchange. That is a supposed picture of Carolyn and Deacon Samuel Brown. At the debut, the mayor and the governor. Emancipation celebration. We come back to our topic today, freedom. Emancipation celebration. Emancipation was 100 years old in 1935. We're working on another century. On the left there in the upper left-hand corner, we have the honoree of today, Dr. King. Dr. King actually celebrated emancipation in Windsor in 1956. The emancipation celebrations are going on in Canada, have been since their emancipation in 1835. And in the gentleman on Dr. King's left is a man by the name of William Russell Small. That would be Carolyn's great-grandson and my grandfather. The family has never forgot what freedom was. The March to Freedom. How many of you took part in our commemoration this year? Oh, it's 50 years. June 23rd, 1963. Do you have any idea what happened that day? I have a dream happened. Detroit was the first place on June the 23rd, 1963, where the world heard that speech at Cobo Hall. Freedom. I'm going to read this as I end my presentation. In 1881, 1880, you had letters of freedom from someone that had found freedom at midnight. And on the right, July the 17th, 1967, an anonymous letter was sent to the Detroit News. It was sent by an anonymous person who said, "Dear Negro Champion." It was addressed to Dr. King. Today, 12 noon, the superintendent of our city schools via WJR told us that he closed the trade schools last January because so many out-of-town Negroes were trying to enlist in our schools. Try and reconcile that fact with your conscience. Freedom. So on March the 14th, 1968, a little known thing happened. Grosse Pointe South High. The students asked Dr. King to come. I'm going to leave you with this. I'm going to ask this question again. What is freedom? I'm going to leave you with that. Is it a monument? Is it a river? Is it a statue? I'm going to let you think about that. And I thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that inspiring and moving story, and thank you for sharing your family so that everyone can leave today knowing and thinking about what is freedom. We continue our program now with other talented representatives of our student body. The Barnard Elementary School Jammin' Jays presenting a celebration of diversity. They're under the direction of Rosie Ann Thomas. Please welcome them to the stage.
Message was together. What a wonder that would be. And can you imagine if while we were singing we all forgot to hate, forgot to fight? What a wonder that would be. They say that music touches everyone, it's true.
Thank you, Barnard Elementary School, Jammin' Jays and Roseanne Thomas. Let's give them another round of applause for these very talented students and their director. Thank you. On behalf of the Troy School District Diversity and Inclusion Council, they would like me to announce their upcoming Spirit of Diversity Awards program. The information is on our website, and we're asking you to nominate people who deserve to be recognized for their work related to diversity and inclusion. Thank you all again for joining us at this annual celebration. I would like to recognize the committee that put this program together for us. Representing the Troy School District and the City of Troy, we have Cindy Stewart, Betty Goss, Jen Helsinger, Carrie Birmingham, Jeff McCoy, and Carrie Suckage. Also thanks to Rosalind Cox, Ann Mull, Jason Witt, and Roseanne Thomas for your assistance. Special thanks to Gail Moran, Stephanie Gervais, and the Sodexo Food Services staff for the delicious breakfast that awaits us, to Gina Minchella and the district's technical crew, to EnviroClean and the custodial staff at Athens, and to the Troy Middle School art teachers, Linda Geely, Veronica Krozik, and Mary Topinski, and their talented students who put together the fabulous art show. Also thanks to our talented Barnard Jammin' Jays, directed by Roseanne Thomas, the Troy High School coach Drumline, and the Athens High School student Matt Kolar for accompaniment with our final song. Brian, would you like to announce the sponsors?
So let us acknowledge our sponsors, and if you're in the audience, please come on the stage when I call your name. Our platinum sponsors are City of Troy and Troy School District. So Mayor and the school board. Our gold sponsors are Alliance Mobile Health, Beaumont Health Systems, Sodexo Food Service, the Troy Community Coalition, Troy Foundation for Educational Excellence, and Walsh College. Our silver sponsors are Big Beaver United Methodist Church, Kelly Services, Lutheran Church of the Master, Troy Interface Group, Troy Lanes and Bowl 1, and we'd now like to invite Dr. Fowler back up.
In closing, we hope you found this morning enjoyable and inspirational. As educators, community leaders, and residents, we are in a unique position to become a beacon of light for the ongoing struggle for social justice and peace. We must continue as a community to champion the fight for equality in our daily lives. In Dr. King's own words, the person who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetuate it. Thank you again for your time this morning. We would like to close as a community by singing We Shall Overcome. Essay winners and video winners, please join us on stage. Afterwards, we would like to invite everyone to enjoy breakfast together in the cafeteria immediately following our performance. And please check out the fabulous artwork of our middle school students outside the auditorium. Here to lead us in We Shall Overcome is once again the Barnard Jammin' Jays. Let's all please stand and join together. Thank you very much for coming this morning.